Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Public Allies. My name is Ayesha Sardar, and I'm going to be the host for today's webinar. I'm very excited today because today I bring to you two amazing, beautiful individuals who have written two books. One is Moonlight, and the other one is Landed for Success, from Burnout to I forget it. I'm so sorry, but I know it's Landed for Success. And I'm so happy that these two ladies are going to be here today, and I am going to be so inspired by them and their stories. I have read them and they are amazing, but I want you to hear it from their mouth. So let me introduce my first guest for today. Her name is Purbi Sinha Das, and here's her introduction.
Purbi Sinha Das is an author, and her repertoire includes literary fiction, poetry, and personal essays. Her short stories and poems published in literary journal and community newspaper are inspired by her travels, childhood in Jharkhand, and life in general. She is a member of Writers Community of Durham Region and Canadian Author Association. She is often invited to speak and share her stories and poems. She has also won grant from Writers Community of Durham Region for her work. Purbi is an Indian born and now settled in Canada. She has a BA with honors in English literature from India and has been a marketing specialist, human resource manager, mentor to high school and university students. Purbi's great passion is to bring joy to people through her stories, poems, and literary pieces. Purbi's debut novel, Moonlight, the journey begins as a story of female courage and the determination to live with dignity even when the odds are impossibly high. In her collection of essays, What Will It Be This Time?, Purbi takes the reader on a journey through her growing up years in India and confirms an immigrant's life in a new country, while daunting, can also be exhilarating.
Welcome, Purbi.
Thank you, Ayesha. It's exciting to be here.
Oh, I'm so happy that you're here today. So I know I missed a few things in your introduction. So you want to add something to that?
Oh, I think you did it all, and thank you so much for that lovely introduction. You didn't miss anything.
So Purbi, I understand that you've done a lot of things. Like I was reading your bio, and you've been a marketing manager, a human resource. So why a writer? Where, like, you always wanted to be a writer, or it just like one day you said, okay, I'm going to be a writer?
Actually, it didn't transpire like that, but I must say that in India, growing up in my childhood and growing years, now, first of all, we were four siblings in our family, plus my parents. We were all voracious readers. In fact, we had lots and lots of books in our house, and my brother even went as far as to build a little library, and we siblings were the loyal customers, more or less, So anyway, so we were such readers, and every time, like, we used to read our books so fast that we had to go and exchange among our friends quickly. Mm-hmm. And so reading those books, I would always be, as we all are, when you read a book, you're transported to that world, and you kind of leave your world and get transported to another country, maybe to another way of life with other people. And I was always fond of writing, and I was always very fond of writing essays, and that came very easily to me. But I did not really think of being a writer until I came here to Canada, and it transpired in a strange way, actually, because I found that not too many people know too much about India. That just the fact that they know about India as a country, but India is also made up of 28 different states with different dialects, different mannerisms, different kinds of food, culture. We even look different from each other, from one state to another. Yeah. And I said to myself that there are lots of children who are born here in Canada of Indian parents, and who would love to probably know a little bit more of their roots and perhaps I can be that voice. So what I started to do was, when I gave up my job in 2015, before that I was writing all the time. I was writing on the GO train. I was writing short stories, poems, and my essays, and some of those got published. And then in 2015, I got a guest column in South Asian newspaper, and I
Amazing.
started putting my personal essays in there, and I got good track, good vibes from that. And I said to myself, okay, so now I have to go back to my novel. And that was always in the back burner. And I said to myself that that will be like a conduit
Mhm.
that I can express, plus show a lot of our life back home in India to our children here. And perhaps they have never been to India, so maybe they can, and their parents can also pick up from that, and then maybe share stories, because my father was a great storyteller and he used to
Yeah.
regale us with ghost stories, especially on a monsoon evening with the rain pounding outside, and we are with our flashlights because the electricity had failed. So
Mhm.
power had gone. So all of that came together, so I must
Yeah.
say it was Canada that actually, because I came here very young, and I must say that I guess I grew up both in both countries, in India
Mhm.
and Canada. So
Yeah.
I thought, okay, this is where I have to give rein to my emerging voice. I have to do this.
Yeah.
So that's how it transpired.
Actually, if you tell kids here that you
Yeah.
used to hold a torch and then the powers were out, I don't think they understand what it means.
No.
But then with that, let's bring our next speaker on, who is an amazing author. I just remembered Landed for Success from Burnout to Victory. That's the name of the book, guys. And I think she'll be very happy to hear that I remembered it. Let's welcome Sudha Arulananthan.
Sutha Arulanantham is a sales representative with Royal LePage, Flower City. She holds a BSc in biology and B.Ed in mathematics with over 10 years of teaching experience. She believes in changing lives, one student at a time and one client at a time. Sudha is known for outstanding client service, effective communication, high tech marketing techniques, and personal touches. She strongly believes that it is her duty not only to represent her clients to the best of her ability, but also to educate them through every step of the process in order to make the best decisions possible. Sudha recognizes and values the trust clients place in her and strives every day to exceed their expectations. When Sudha is not busy helping clients, she loves spending time with her husband and 2 kids, hiking, reading, drawing, cycling, and the list never ends. She went on to inspire others with her story and became Amazon best-selling author with Landed for Success from Burnout to Victory. Curious about current real estate market, neighborhood options, what your home is worth? Don't be shy, reach out to her and find out how Sudha could guide you through all the challenges to accomplish your goals. Welcome, Sudha.
Hi.
Welcome, welcome.
Hi. Thank you for having me. It's amazing being here. Thank you.
It's really nice to have you here, Sudha. And I read your story. I am in Landed for Success because it's a collection of, I think, 14 or 15 authors, and it blew my mind away. Like the way you've expressed, everybody goes through it. It is about mental health. If the readers haven't, if somebody has not read it, it's about mental health, especially Sudha's chapter, and beautifully put her journey. How you know she didn't know what was happening to her, to what how she came out of it. So Sudha, I want to hear, like, what was the feeling at that time? I read it, but it's not complete.
I know because it was a very one chapter, and it was really really hard to summarize the whole process into very restrictive counts of words, right? So for me, I just wanted to get my story out there, so at least one person would be inspired, and they know that struggles and the challenges and the obstacles and whatever we go through, they're not alone, right? So we there's so many people out there who just doesn't come out and say it, but every day it's happening to someone out there, or not, we might not know, but they are going through some sort of a mental challenge, or a physical challenge, or whatever that they might be going through. And for me at that time, it was very difficult. I was not prepared. No one is prepared, right? We
Yeah.
don't know that this is going to happen to us. And when it strikes, and you are to fall, literally, I think I used the word, I was on my knees every day crying. I didn't know what was happening to me. And we don't know the resources, the help that's out there, and especially coming from a Sri Lankan community. And I could say the same about other related communities. It's like it was hard, very hard, and very difficult leap for me to reach out and get the help I needed.
Amazing. I think, like, each one of us goes through those challenges, but very few have the courage to put it in form of words and share their stories with others.
See, that was the very difficult thing that I have done, but that was the most amazing, the strongest, the most proudest moment, because it was very, 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 very self-healing for me. You would not believe it, Aisha, how many times I actually started writing my story, and then after a couple of sentences, I would stop, because every time I was going back like 8 9 years and reliving it. So I would put it away, and then I'm like, okay, I can't do this, because you're bringing up all the trauma that you lived and you're trying to forget, but you're bringing it out to the surface. But I haven't realized that it was actually a healing process for me.
Yeah.
So by the time I finished my rough copy, I felt like, you know what, this is my story. I have to take ownership of who I am.
Yeah.
And if I don't do that, if I don't accept myself being vulnerable, then I cannot go to the next level of my growth, right?
Yeah.
So it
It's
was,
like reliving your past, right? But that is very important. But this is my question to both of you. It's difficult for everyone. I completely agree. But coming from a South Asian background, right, like ours, where women are, this is a women's month, so where women are not equal to the male gender, right, to men. So, Purbi, starting from you, because your book shows that, your book
Yeah.
states that. So, what do you think? I know we have come a long way, but do you think it still happens, and why does it happen?
Well, to answer that question, I may have to go back a little and say that I was raised in a culture where girls were educated but not expected to work for a living.
Yeah.
Never, never. And I know from my own experience, more from my own family experience, when my father passed away, we were very young. I was very young. And my father's company actually offered a job to my mother, who was highly educated, very
Mhm.
highly educated. She was from Calcutta. And she said no to the job. And now that I'm grown up, I hope I'm older and wiser. I can look back and think about it, because at that time, probably I might have thought to myself, I don't know if I did think, but I may have, that why didn't my mom go out and work, But now I think that, see, a woman in India at that time, when she marries, she is in her husband's house. She's being looked after by her husband, by everybody. She never goes out to to do anything, or talk to strangers, or work in an office. So my mother said no, and she said she has two young girls at home to look after. But now, when you put that in context of today's age, a person would have gone out and got that, taken that
Yeah,
job, because that would
absolutely.
have helped us financially. But I can quite understand what my mother went through. She must have gone through like she must have
Yeah.
been torn. She must have
No,
been torn,
see,
you
I
know.
don't have a problem that she rejected it, but it
Yeah,
should be her choice.
that's it. And it's like, what will society say?
No, yeah,
What what
exactly.
what will your relatives say? What will those men in the office say? I mean, why is she like? It's
Yeah,
a whole different world. But thankfully, things have changed. People are working, women are working, they're raising a family in India. They are doing all kinds of things, and I'm so proud of them. But
yeah,
I'm proud of my mom, because being so highly educated, she was humble, and she took her job, her responsibility of looking after her children, you know to
yeah.
that level. She brought it to that level.
Yeah, that's a
So
job in itself. People don't
yes,
understand.
exactly.
But raising a family,
Yeah,
raising kids, raising the
yeah,
next generation
that's
is
right.
a huge responsibility as well.
Huge responsibility. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But
exactly.
yes, from there to Sudha, now you came from a, if I can call it a war-torn country, and then you had your own challenges. You had seen things, you had seen so much happening back home, and then moving into a new culture, new country, new community, being accepted, not accepted, it had its own challenges. So what was that growing up? Were women and men treated equally then and now, or in spite of moving to a new country, the cultures were still the same?
Well, I don't know if it's a fortunate thing or an unfortunate thing. I left my home country, Sri Lanka, when I was very young. I was 5.
Okay.
So I have no idea. I did not see any
No
war,
memory at all?
no memory at all. I only beautiful memories of back home, which is a blessing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank God, thank God to that. But I did live in India, so I went from Sri Lanka, lived in southern part of India for about 5 years, and that was a quite a bit of transition. But the culture was very similar, and the language was very similar, and the transition was very easy for me. But then the transition from India to Canada was a little bit of a difficult, because due to language restrictions and the culture differences was really very difficult. But for me, the most difficult thing was I was more growing up like in my teen years as Canadian, very westernized, where I was raised by parents. I was the youngest of 5. So
Mhm.
I was raised by parents, and my older sisters and my brothers were very cultural, right? Like Sri Lankan cultural.
Okay.
So it was very hard for me. I was very rebellious. I do have to say, because I had 2 older brothers, and they got away with a lot of things that I was not supposed to do.
Uh-huh.
So the gender bias kind of started at home for me, and I was very rebellious about it. And I can remember arguments at home with my mom, where she would be like, "Oh, learn to cook, because when you get married, you need to know how to cook." And
Oh
I
my
can still
God.
remember I was 12, and I used to say, either I would if I need to cook and be in the kitchen, either I won't get married at all, or I would find a husband who would cook. This this started very young, and I used to fight every day. There used to be so much of arguments, because I couldn't go out after 6 o'clock, and my brothers
Mm.
would come home literally at 10, 11 p.m., right?
Oh, yeah.
So there was,
So
but
equal rules for all, then even I would agree. If
exactly, right.
everybody's coming at
Yeah,
the same time. But
but
Yeah.
different rules, that's where you start
Yeah.
fighting for your rights, right?
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I never gave up. I fought, and then at one point in time they actually gave up. And when it was around 14, 15, and they said, like, okay, we understand you, and we're going to give you the same freedom, but then freedom comes with a lot of responsibility, they told me,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So that is when I kind of I kind of understood the bigger picture of life, and I became who I am. And then I thought, okay, you know what? Now I have the freedom. Now I have to choose wisely. All my decisions are going to affect me at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Right. So until then, I was a little rebellious. But coming back to your question, Aisha, regardless of a man or a female, an individual has to make their own choices, and they should be given the right to make their own choices.
Yeah.
And me, as a working woman, I worked for a few years. And when my daughter was born, I stayed home for 2 years. And then when I decided to go back, we as a we as a family decided it was better for me. I totally accepted that I'm going to stay home and raise both my children. And that was my choice. So, like, as long as we are allowed to choose
Yeah.
and we're not doing
Yeah.
it for anybody else or societal pressure, I think that is the key, because you're making your choices, you're being accountable for your life, right? And that is what matters at the end of the day. When you look back,
Absolutely.
you
Yeah.
have no regrets. I have no regrets. I literally stayed home for 7, 8 years. And no matter what, those were the most amazing, beautiful years, spending all the time I could with my young kids. I would not change it if I were to go back. So,
Which is like amazing, because it was your choice, and I understand the then you feel happy about your choices,
yeah.
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So now, coming to a different question, is like, how open are we about secrets in a South Asian culture? Like, I've read a little bit of, like, I have to go through the whole book, Moonlight, because it's full of so many feelings and so many things that you need time to go through it. So, but Chandni goes through, like, the secrets of the family and her own journey. So, uh, is it important to keep the secrets, or should we be open with our kids and the next generation about what is happening, because it gives them that experience and helps them make the right choices? And
Yes.
again, continuing with that, how much do we talk about mental health in our families? See, as a psychologist, I might talk about mental health in my family, and because Sudha went through it, she might talk to her friends about it. But in general, how many of us as South Asians really talk to our kids about it? We switch off the TVs when we see, like, there is a news about shooting in a mosque or in a church or in a gurudwara or wherever, right? We don't want them to see it because we feel like we are protecting. Are we really protecting? That's my question. Purabi, you want to go first?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think because we come from that culture, from that cultural background, I would say that that sense of protection that we leap to protect our children is ingrained within us, and it's very hard to get out of that. And I myself can speak from my own experience. Um, I have two kids, two children. They are grown up, but I was also like that because I came from that kind of a background.
Yeah.
Because we don't, any kind of any kind of I remember my mother and father, they would talk, but we would not be with them when they were talking. Like, we knew there was a certain time when my dad came home from his office and my mother would be making tea for him. So just the two of them would be at the dining table, and the curtain would be down, and they would talk about the day's activities, I guess, whatever, and there would be letters from our another property from another state. So the manager from that state would have sent the letters and told them told my dad what's going on and everything. So my mother and father talked, and we never sat with them at that time. So that was their time, they would talk. But over here, it changed. The dynamics changed completely for us, my husband and I. And that was a huge, big challenge for us over here.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, we talk about challenges about our children, but we also need to talk about ourselves who come from another country. And
Absolutely.
because our children are going to school here, and they have their peers who are grown up here, and they themselves have grown up here, they may have different outlook on life, and that kind of clashes with us sometimes. And that's what happened with us too, my husband and I. And we had to actually sometimes pivot quickly, or maybe tell ourselves that it's okay, we can talk about it. But we were still very hesitant. And so I myself had been learning, like almost every day I was learning to live according to, but I didn't want to let go of my roots. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
want to let go of my culture. I didn't want to let go of my beliefs. But I also said that we have to have a good meeting. The two paths should meet together properly,
Yeah.
and that's what we try to do. And I don't know how. I guess we may have been okay in that because our children are fine. I must say.
Yeah.
So, and they are very appreciative of us. But as I said, yeah, our cultural background very different, and I think it's not just South Asian. Probably other countries, when they have
Absolutely.
immigrated to another country, they have to assimilate, right?
Yeah.
And the children born in the country of their adoption, their adopted country, when they have the children in that adopted country, they have to make sure that they don't clash with the cultural outlook. They can be It can be a beautiful confluence of two cultures. It can be beautifully done,
Yeah.
and that's what we need to learn, and that's what we need to talk about. How do we do
Agree.
it?
Agree, Purabi. Completely agree what you said. It's like, the fact that you were happy to let go of a few things, unlearn a few things, and learn
Yeah,
new things.
yeah,
That was the best part of that. So
right.
that now the question moves to you. I know for a fact that, especially in the Sri Lankan community, because I have quite a few friends like yourself, mental health probably is not something which is discussed, or it's not something, you know, which is even spoken about, especially when it comes to men in the family, or. So how do you see that changing, and how do you speak about it with your kids?
Very interesting question, actually. Like, even though I grew up pretty much all my life in Canada, like Purabi said, it's a lot of that deep rooted foundation of where we're coming from, right? So it's already ingrained in us. So it is still a big taboo, and a lot of people don't talk about it, and they just kind of shove it under the carpet and avoid talking about it. Generally speaking, I wouldn't be so much of gender bias, even though that commonly speaking, women tend to speak about mental health related issue more than men. And, for a man to be even emotional, it's not very well accepted in our culture, I would say.
Yeah.
A man is not supposed to cry. Man is not supposed to be expressive of his emotions, and men are not supposed to speak of financial crisis. So many pressures they go through, and despite of that, in our culture, there is a lot of awareness being created, but regardless, I don't think a lot of families are talking about it.
Yeah.
And no matter the kind of awareness you're creating outside, I think the awareness should be coming from the family, where it
Mhm.
is a comfort zone, right? Like for me to talk to my daughter about mental related issues would have her accept it, create more impact, and understand it better than it's coming from a third
Mhm.
source, right?
Yeah.
So when it comes to mental related issue, and things like that, I talk about it with my kids. I am very open person myself. I talk to my friends about it. And we with my daughter, she's like a friend. She's 14 years old, but she says that I am extremely a vocal parent. I literally talk about it. Yeah, exactly. I talk about everything with her. There's no, like, the screen that Purabi was talking about. For me, there's no filter. There's no screen.
Isn't that the beauty? Like, we all come from different
Yeah.
generations, and then
Yeah.
we're all like talking about different things to our kids. But
Yeah.
this is what happens. Purabi, I want to hear, like, how was it? Have you ever spoken about mental health in your closer circle?
Um, yes. Among my friends, yes, I have. And we have discussed that in our church group. And, but I must say, it is something that it's still kind of a challenge. I think I would say it's more of a challenge for the men um, to talk about it as Sutha. I think Sutha, you mentioned that, right?
Yeah.
That it's more of a challenge for men, and it is actually, it truly is. And I would go beyond that, and I would say it's not just unique to our background. It's not just unique to South Asians.
Yeah.
I would say that it's with all males. But as it was so funny. Like my life here in Canada, as it unfolded, it was actually as though I had gone back to school, college, university, doing it all over again, but in a different background, in a different way. And I myself was evolving as a human being. So
Which is beautiful, that
yes,
the word itself, the way you're putting it, that's why I said you did your own unlearning and learning.
yes,
So
yes, yeah,
you are
exactly.
the person you are because of that.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
beautiful.
So yeah, and that gave me an insight into people, how they were feeling without words.
Yeah.
I could talk, I could see body language completely, and that is why I suppose in my last job I loved it so much because I could communicate with people so much younger than me, like high
Mhm.
school students who came in as volunteers, new Canadians who came in as volunteers, or to learn the language and to work in that Canadian environment. So I would actually encourage them to learn the English language. And one of the volunteers who was working in my office because she wanted to learn how to even file and stuff like that. And I said to her, the challenge was English language. So I said, why don't you do it this way? Every day before you go to bed, you take one alphabet of the English language, and whatever you heard during that day, throughout the day, if anything you heard that speaks with an A, you write it down and do it for a whole month. And she started doing that actually. And at the end of 5 months, she got a job. And she came running to me and she says, Purobi, I have a job. So I said, that's amazing. So
Yeah.
and I have had university students who worked in my office also as volunteers in my last job. And so I was thinking that, these individuals, these human beings are teaching me as much as I'm teaching them.
Yeah.
So that was such a beautiful experience. And I suppose because in India, I was very protected,
Yeah.
uh, very always had a chaperone. I never worked over there for a living, which I did here. And the first day that I went, I had to write a check over here in Canada. I did not know how to write a check. That's the first time I wrote a check, and I went to Toronto Dominion Bank on my own, taking the bus. That was a red letter day.
Amazing.
And I think
Amazing.
that's the day I really grew up.
Yeah, we all are still growing up. We all
Yeah,
have more
we are all
experiences to
exactly.
have, and that's
Yeah.
gonna, like you said, evolve us. But
Yeah.
I have this question.
Yes.
We don't talk about drugs with us kids, we don't talk about mental health, but when we actually let them drive, or they give a driving test, each time they go out we say drive safe to anyone, right? why
Mhm.
why can't we say, like, um have a better mental health thing, or have a good, like we say, have a good day, but why can't we talk about, we can also say, be careful, don't get into bad habits, don't take drugs, or why cannot that become a common thing? Because
Yeah.
you're just telling them to be safe. I'll go with Sudha to start with. Sudha, quick one, because we are closing.
I know, actually, like there's for me it's very different. Like I said, even today when I picked up my daughter, we were talking about she was going through a scenario about drug use and stuff like that, right?
Oh yeah.
So I was talking to her, and then I parked the car. We were in the car 10 minutes talking about it, right? She was asking her friends a hypothetical question about what would what would it be if we all were high one day, how would we all react, right? So she had this hypothetical conversation with her friends, and then she was talking to me about it, and then it was like about 20-minute conversation we had, right? So every time I take an opportunity when she is ready, and I make that into a learning opportunity for her, that is when I really really pump her with all the information that she needs, because they're curious when they
Yeah.
come to you as a parent with the curiosity. They are reaching out to you, so
Yeah.
take that moment, put away your phone, put away whatever you're doing, put it away, take that moment, utilize that time to educate them. Number one, educate them. I started educating my daughter when she was 6 years old about child abuse, and
Mhm.
right now she's 14. About a year ago she told me, like, Mom, you did the best thing ever, because she was very well educated. She knows what are the signs to look out for. So like I said, I talk about pregnancy, birth control, everything. You name it, I talk about everything, because she's a
Yeah.
teenager, right?
Yeah.
So for me, the more you educate them as a parent, you have done your duties, and
Yeah.
they also feel it's safe to reach out to you. And I tell her, come to me. Like, even if you make a mistake, come to me. First thing, we will solve it together, find a solution, and then we'll talk about the rest after. I give her that comfort
Yeah.
zone,
Yeah.
right? I know it's very difficult as a parent,
Yeah.
especially coming from a background like a community where we were protected ourselves, and
Mhm.
we still have that nature to protect our kids to like you. That's what every parent wants. You want to protect them. You don't want anything bad to happen to them. But
Yeah.
then educate them.
Yeah.
Educate them and
Absolutely.
break.
And
Yeah.
that is the best thing, right? Educate them. If they
Educate.
don't know what the perils are, how are they
Mm.
going to face them?
That's
Exactly.
Purabi,
yeah.
to you, the same thing.
Uh, yeah, I completely agree that educate them. But as I said, I did have a tug of war about that. Talking maybe maybe because I myself was so protected. I never in my like I never actually expected or never thought that anything bad would happen. That was
Yeah.
my mindset. I
Like,
never thought.
don't bring it in the forefront,
Exactly.
and it is never
Exactly.
going to happen, right?
Exactly. Don't
Yes.
talk about it.
Don't
It
talk
will
about
never
it.
happen.
Yeah.
So and that's wrong. So but then as I said, I myself was growing up over here. So it was very different, a different life for me, a different lifestyle for me. So it started that way, and I became better, I think, at talking about it with my children. And not every time, of course, I'm sure they came to me. I'm sure they went to their friends, as we all do. To our friends, we go to our friends first before we go to our parents. But things have changed, and I must say that things are very open. I suppose it's because of the internet, because of video games and the internet, and people are more open, and it's out there in your face, sort of thing. But previously, it was not like that. It even like up to 2000, I guess it wasn't like that so much. But after 2000, it kind of became really really out there. Everything was out there.
Yeah,
So
Google it
you
and
could,
you'll find it.
sorry, yeah, exactly. That's what it is. And if the parent is feeling shy about it or has some hesitation, they know that they can call a line, or they can go to their friends, or they can go to the teacher to talk about it, or they can it's kind of talk about it. But I'm my daughter was very open, and I think she found us very supportive, and that is why she could talk to us about almost everything, And my son also is the same way, but I'm sure there are certain things that they don't want to talk about.
No, I'm going to cut you some slack and I'm going to say there were not two children growing up in the household, there were four. And they grew up pretty good.
That's a good one, Aisha. That is so true. Actually, we do learn a lot from them as well.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
every day
Yeah.
is a learning process, right?
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah.
That is true.
Open mind and talking about things is very important. I'm going to say that it's been wonderful talking to you ladies, and how well you can bring a conversation into the household, how you can learn, unlearn, educate each other while growing up. That's what we have to learn. And coming from a different country, it can get difficult. Like you said, Purabi, like don't talk about it, it's never going to happen. That's the past, right? It will happen, so it is better they know what happens, so they can make a better judgment. So
absolutely.
With that, thank you so much, ladies. This was so wonderful. I have thoroughly enjoyed. I want to tell our viewers, please buy the books. This is Moonlight. The journey begins from Purabi Sinha Das, and then we have Landed for Success, from Burnout to Victory. I remember, Sutha, don't look at me. From Burnout to Victory. And there are 14 or how many authors? That I don't know. How many of them? 16? 14?
I believe
it's a quiz. Okay. Go ahead, buy them. They're available on Amazon. Follow our authors. Their description is in the details. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. They're very, very, very wonderful and beautiful, amazing people. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ayesha. Thank you. It was lovely. Thank you, Sutha.
Thank you, Purabi. It was nice meeting you. And Ayesha, I do have to say, whatever you're doing to the community with Public Allies and Chisa, and being a psychologist and a mental health specialist, amazing. And it's been such a pleasure knowing you and being a friend with you, and hoping that great things are yet to come. And it's been nice sharing this platform with you as well, Purabi, and hopefully we'll meet in person one time.
Absolutely. Let's hope for that. Thank you, Ayesha, for this very inspiring evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, everyone. And we will see you next week on Thursday with our law webinar. Stay tuned.